This week, contrary to appearances, we are not in Storybrooke, Maine, but here in beautiful Steveston in the city of Richmond, where we're going to explore some of the fantastic Asian cuisine that Richmond has to offer. The city of Richmond is located just south of Vancouver and is on a group of islands in the Fraser River Delta. It has a rapidly growing and ethnically diverse population, of which over 60% is of Chinese or South Asian ancestry, giving its downtown core a distinctly Asian feel. But today we're focusing on the rich Japanese culture which forms a significant part of the community. The Japanese story starts in the picturesque fishing port of Steveston, as I found out when I visited the Steveston Historical Society Museum with local historian Kelvin Higo.
Well, no, what happened was in 1877, the first recorded Japanese jumped ship in Westminster.
Okay.
And, if you look at the time lag, about 1877, the first Caucasian person landed here in Steveston, from the Steves family. And so the Japanese and the Caucasian families came here almost concurrently.
Right.
The most significant person was Gihei Kuno, who came here in about 1887. And he came hearing the stories of the fantastic wealth that you can get from the salmon fishing.
Right.
And encouraged about 250 of his villagers to come and seek their fortunes here in Canada.
Oh, okay.
And so that's the start. And they're the ancestors of almost all the Japanese here in Steveston.
The Japanese immigrants thrived in the successful local fishing industry, though there was one period when things didn't go so well.
The most significant thing that happened to the Japanese was obviously during World War II, when the Japanese were interned.
Right.
They all had to leave the coast 100 miles inland.
Okay.
And it was so bad that Steveston became a ghost town.
Right. Because of course these were all property owners and business owners and families and the whole society.
They made up 70% of the population at that time.
Right.
Everybody in the Japanese population had a 7-year block of time taken from their lives.
Right.
And to me, that's astounding. The story, to me, is not about the internment and the injustice, which is important, but really about how they came back and rebuilt their lives.
Right.
In 1956, the president of BC Packers came
Which was right across the street.
Which was right across the street, came to the Japanese community, our elders, and said, look, why would we develop separate communities? Let's work together to build one community. Let's join forces and build a community center. Now remember, this is only 6 years after the internment. And I always said, would I be big enough of a man to say yes, that we should work together? I think I would have been a bit bitter. But our elders looked forward to the future and said, for the betterment of the children in our community, we need to come together. When we grew up, I think it was probably 50-50 Japanese and Caucasian, and we all grew up as friends. And I talked to a lot of my Caucasian friends, said, they always wanted to be Japanese. That was before Japanese food was popular.
Yep.
We come with our little bentos and little rice balls and things like this, and they're looking over with their ham sandwiches.
Absolutely. And at
almost
that time,
envious, right?
At that time, that was way out of the ballpark, wasn't it?
Exactly.
So what's your favorite dish? Your favorite Japanese dish that still sort of lights your fire?
I like ramen.
Mm-hmm. Which is what's that?
It's noodle soup.
Okay.
And I had it in Japan when I was there, and just loved it. And you're just starting to see these types of restaurants start up here in the Lower Mainland.
Our wonderful resident Japanese historian, Kelvin Higo, mentioned that his favorite Japanese food is ramen soup. So I thought it's only fair that I should try some of the best in the area.
So today it looks like we're here at the Richmond Auto Wash, but in reality we're here to see one of Richmond's best kept secrets, Shibuyate Ramen House. Let's go inside and see what they've got to offer.
Chef Takeo Sato makes Tokyo-style ramen, a traditional version of the famous soup which is made using pork bones rather than fat, making it lighter and fresher. There are some other key differences as well.
This broth, I don't cook more than the 6 hours, 5 to 6 is the limit.
5 to 6 hours and then it's finished.
Yes, many ramen shops said we, keep 24 hours, something like that. Right. Yeah. But if I keep more than that, okay, just get the thick, strong, but all smell.
This is all about freshness. It's all about being in a very short time frame.
Yes.
And being served immediately.
Yeah.
So may I try? May I try the broth?
Sure,
absolutely. So this is less than 6 hours old.
Yeah, almost 5 hours.
Almost
So,
5 hours. And the cleanliness in there is just spectacular. Very, very little fat.
Only, yeah,
just a tiny...
basically I take fat like that.
Yeah.
I take off
Yeah.
every fat. Yeah, but a little bit keep fat.
You can smell the pork. It smells delicious.
Pork, chicken, yeah.
Spectacular. Very, very good. I mean, it's you can taste the chicken, you can taste the pork, you can taste the French.
Yes,
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Takeo learned his cooking skills by operating his own highly successful ramen restaurant in Tokyo, before moving to Richmond and opening Shibuyate, which despite its modest appearance is one of the most authentic Japanese ramen restaurants in the region.
So this is some of the pork shoulder,
Yes, pork shoulder.
some bean shoots,
Yeah. That's a bamboo shoot.
bamboo shoots,
Yeah.
some spinach.
Yes, this is spinach. Tokyo styles, we don't use the corn.
Right.
We use the other one, Naruto. But many Canadians, they are not interested for Naruto, so I changed to the corn, to the green onion.
Green onions, nori.
Yeah, nori. That's a typical Tokyo style.
Well, thank you so much, Chef Takeo. This looks absolutely wonderful. And the smell's coming off of the bowl. Again, the nice wide bowl really opens up the smell. I can smell everything and all the flavors coming out of the bowl. So tell me, the traditional way to eat would be chopsticks first and then the soup at the end?
Soup, always soup. Check the soup first.
Okay, so check the flavor of the soup
Yes,
first.
exactly.
And then you can go in for the...
Yes, always.
Oh, that is wonderful. The chicken and the pork really give the broth such a nice richness.
Yes.
All the flavors in there are just spectacular together. It's so...
Everything homemade.
Everything's
So, yeah.
homemade and they're so clean. The flavors are very clean. I love it. I love it.
While I'm enjoying my ramen, Ali is getting scrubbed up and sterilized with help from Yoshiaki Kasugai, a sake master, or toji. Owner Yuki Kobayashi is showing her around the YK3 Sake Brewery in Richmond, one of only 3 sake makers in Canada.
So if there's only the 3 sake breweries in Canada, does that mean that there's only 3 tojis in Canada?
Toji is so the head of sake makers.
Okay.
So each brewery technically has a toji, one toji making sake. But what's unique about my toji, Yoshi, is he's the only professional certified sake maker from Japan. So a lot of sake makers are self-taught, or they maybe got trained in a brewery in Japan, but it doesn't mean that
They have the certification.
Exactly. So to me, I'm very proud of having him, and he's actually a go-to sort of sake guru, like in terms of the technical part of the sake making, actually in North America.
Okay.
So everybody knows Yoshi as sort of the sake master, and there's a social media sort of connection that everybody's like, hey Yoshi.
Could you maybe just give me the basic breakdown on how you make sake here, how sake is brewed?
Okay. First step would be rinsing rice, washing rice. But it's not just like washing rice the way that you do when you cook rice for restaurants or at home. It still takes some skills, kind of wash gently. And then he doesn't cook rice, he steam rice. So it's
Right.
the steam. Steam also takes some skill to actually evenly steam the rice or prepare the rice. So after steaming rice, he does koji making. And koji is the one of the key ingredients in sake making. Koji itself is actually a fungus, like the mold spores. That's actually traditionally used in lots of Japanese cuisine or ingredients, such as like miso, soy sauce. It's all it helps the fermentation.
Right.
Koji making is unique to sake, so Ali is eager to find out more.
Koji making takes about 46 to 48 hours, depending on the condition of koji. And it's not the hardest work physically, but it is very hard work because for 48 hours, he has to monitor this
Right.
overnight as well. So he has to spend 2 nights monitoring this mixing as needed. It has been 46 hours right now.
Okay.
So now he decided that this is
It's ready.
It's ready. And again, the temperature monitoring is very key. So the last step is he has to mix up koji to let the heat out. So like help koji cool down. If you look at the rice closely, you can tell like the white mold is exactly.
Yeah, it's coated. Thank you. They're soft. They're softer
Yeah, they
than
are.
you would expect. Now, I think I'll probably enjoy this more when it's sake, but I'm so curious. Oh, it's sweet.
It is sweet, yeah.
It's almost like dessert.
The koji fungus converts the starches in the rice into sugars, ready for the next stage, fermentation, which converts the sugars into alcohol. After pressing, filtering, and pasteurization, the final result is sake. YK3 currently produces 5 different sakes, including one infused with local blueberries.
Now, I've always been curious, hot or cold sake? What do you suggest?
Most of premium sake, I suggest to have it cold. I know like in North America, in Canada, a lot of people know sake as hot sake.
Right.
Like, there are actually some sake that are specifically to be served hot or warm. But here, I think a lot of people almost like boil it.
Right.
In the modern culture, actually, we started drinking sake in a wine glass. Just for it's more like the same as wine.
Right.
Enjoying the aromas and like
Right,
you
so
know.
you can swirl.
But that doesn't really bring this like a cultural experience. I think this does.
Right.
Like
It's interactive.
interacting exactly. That there's a rule that you don't pour yourself. I mean, it's not rude or anything, but it technically. So I pour you, and so that you take the bottle and like you pour into my glass.
So it's very shared.
Exactly. So it's like it is like a ritual sort of thing.
Steveston Harbour is still home to one of Canada's largest fishing fleets, with over 600 boats, and it's also a fantastic place to buy fish and seafood. Coming straight off the boats, it really doesn't get any fresher than this. You can find almost anything here on the docks, providing it's in season, including sea urchins. I have not prepared them before, but I know just the place to learn how.
Okay, here we are at Ichiro Japanese restaurant, one of Steveston's most highly regarded sushi restaurants, with Chef Sakura and his apprentice Hiro, who are going to talk to us about uni, which of course comes from sea urchin. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us.
Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
So, what is sea urchin and how do we eat it?
Okay. Some people say it's an egg or but it's actually the gnat, not the eggs. We got a chicken here from Richmond.
So, would you like to show us how to prepare the uni? Excellent. So these are still alive.
Yes.
They're broken up when they're still alive. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
These are the guts. This is the stomach and the. Okay. And this is the part we want here.
Sometimes you see the dark color in the uni, but it doesn't affect the taste.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there's 5
Yeah.
in each one, isn't there? Yeah.
Now that the uni is separated and clean, it's time to get creative.
This is our special roll.
Okay.
Usually lots of fishes inside, like amaebi shrimp and toro. It's a tuna.
I was going to say it's a type of
very
tuna. Yes.
Yeah. The cucumbers.
Okay. And this is salmon roe?
Salmon roll,
Salmon
yes.
roe, okay.
Finish with like a jalapeno paste.
Ah, okay, so not wasabi, so something a little bit different. Still got some bite to it and a little bit of heat. So this is the rice wrapped in cucumber, and salmon.
Yep.
And then, yeah, some uni. This is beautiful to try uni in a number of different ways.
Yep.
Oh, Master Sakura, what do we have here?
This is uni sashimi.
Uni sashimi on a sea urchin. That is just wonderful. Look at that. I have to admit, I love sushi. That was great. And that ramen was just, oh, to die for. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take sushi and I'm going to take ramen and I'm going to put them both together and we're going to have this beautiful ramen sushi with crab and avocado and some bacon, and totally untraditional, but it's going to be delicious nonetheless. First thing we're going to do is we've got this beautiful double smoked thick cut bacon, okay? We want to just render off the fat so that we don't have all the fat floating in our broth. But at the same time, I don't want it crispy. I just want to have it so that it's still soft, so a nice low heat. Got a little chicken broth with a few chili flakes in it just to give it a little bit of zing. Meanwhile, over here, I've got my sushi rice. Okay, so this has steamed for 18 minutes and then rested for 20 with a good tight lid on it. And this is a salt, vinegar, and sugar mixture. So about a third. Okay, originally the rice starts off quite thick and stiff, but as we start to move that syrup, which is effectively what it is with the vinegar, the sugar, and the salt, it starts to loosen up the rice. You can see as we put the syrup in, the rice absorbs it quite quickly. And we want to make sure it's absorbed before we add the next batch. So here we go, another third. I'm continuously stirring just gently. And we've got one more addition here, the last of our sushi rice. Okay, we're just going to let that cool for a second. The bacon here is done. I'm going to take these two pieces. We'll make sure they're drained. We don't want any of that excess fat in our broth. While that's doing its thing, I'm going to slide that over here. We're going to get our avocado ready. Now these avocados are just perfect, okay? If you give them a little squeeze at the top or the bottom, just gently, there's just that little bit of give in them. If they're hard, they're not ripe. If they're too soft, they're overripe, okay? Take your knife, okay? Push in. Once the knife stops at the stone, just roll the avocado around on the knife and you give it a twist. There we go. Take your knife, push it into the stone, give it a twist, and there comes your avocado stone. So now we're going to take our avocado, just use the back of your knife and just make a slice in the skin right around the back. I go about 3/4 of the way over. And if the avocado is perfectly ripe, the skin should just peel off beautifully without any effort whatsoever. And then we're just going to cut this into nice, even slices. Meanwhile, our bacon has cooled down a little bit here. And we're just going to cut this into what we call lardons. And a lardon is a thin strip of bacon cut across the fat and the meat. And these are going to be the garnish for our sushi ramen. We'll drop it on there just to get rid of that little bit of excess fat. And we can just slide that over there onto there. Okay, so there's our garnish is all coming together quite nicely. I've got some beautiful Dungeness crab. This is our local indigenous crab to the west coast of BC. That's already been shelled and ready to go. And then I just want to take my green onions here. A little bit of a bias, about 45 degrees. Again, I'm using that rocking motion with my knife. The tip never leaves. And you see how I can just roll the knife back down the green onions. And it's just, I'm walking my fingers back and the knife never leaves my knuckles. So that's going to be the garnish part of our green onion. That nice light green stuff. The white part of the green onion, we're going to cut just a little bit thicker. Same thing. And that is just going to get dropped into our chicken broth. Okay, so that will cook out. Always give yourself a little bit of cold water. And that'll basically stop the rice from sticking to your hands, okay? So just wet your hands a little bit, okay? And we don't need a lot. And we're just going to make this into a little disc. Okay, we're just going to drop that right in the bottom of our bowl. I'm going to take probably 4, so about 1/4 of the avocado. Okay, so we just lay that over the rice like so. We're going to take our crab meat and gently position it on top of the avocado. We'll take a little bit of our bacon lardons here and scatter them around the outside of the rice. And then we're ready for our chicken broth. So this is just come up to a nice gentle simmer, okay? Little ladleful. Now very, very gently, what we don't want to do is flush the crab off the top, but I do want to make sure it's warm, so I'm just gently going to let the broth dribble out of the ladle. And I don't want to completely bury everything in the broth. I'm just basically coming up to the bottom of the avocado here. Okay, we've got our nice bright green onions for the top. And then we just finish with a few hemp hearts. And there we go. There's my version of sushi ramen.
Now that does look delicious. For this pairing, I've chosen a Viognier from Desert Hills. I find this wine has a honeydew or melony nature to it, and I think that's going to be a really fun play off the crab. And there is a level of acidity, even though it is very round, that I think will cut through that avocado and the richness that you're going to find there. Well, of course, I had to include a sake in this episode, and of course, I chose a YK3 sake. Their Junmai sake is really elegant. It's superbly balanced, and it plays with your tongue. And I think it's those exotic notes that are going to really complement, again, the crab. And the greenness of it, I think, will just balance the avocado as well.